This is the Brian Craig Show podcast where MAGA comes to talk. My name is Brian Craig, and the program is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof replacement or repair, he's your guy. He'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Online at LaportaRoofing.com. Okay, now this is something I just saw. It's the number one trending thing on X right now, and it's a clip of President Trump, and then it has all the Democrats, senators, House members, and others all talking about Donald Trump, and they're saying the exact same thing. I won't play too much of it, and you'll understand why when you hear it.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. And let me fast forward and see if it gets any better. Yeah, it goes on and on. It's really embarrassing. And, you know, here's the thing with the Democrats, okay? And this is the problem. The Democrats have a lot of problems. But what they've really become is a party that stands for nothing, with no agenda or platform other than opposing Donald Trump. They really stand for nothing. They're a hate group with all their hate directed towards one man. Now, you know, Ronald Reagan got a lot of hate from the Democrats. They were all over Ronald Reagan, but not like Trump. The Democrats still stood for something. They were wrong. They're always wrong, but they stand for nothing now. They're not about affirmative action. They're not about lower taxes. They're not about higher taxes. They're not about a position on the Ukrainian-Russian war. They're just about opposing anything President Trump does. If President Trump says the sky's blue, they're going to give, grief to that. And that's a good thing. We don't want the Democrats to get their act together. If they get their act together, well, then maybe they'll win an election at some point, It's really bad. Okay, now today is a big day because the tariffs, the import taxes, went into effect against Canada and Mexico. Now, the thing about the Democrats with their opposition to import taxes, tariffs, this just really cracks me up because Democrats have never met a tax they didn't want to raise. They're always raising taxes. They hate tax cuts. And this is the only time in my entire life that I can recall the Democrats opposing a tax increase. They're very upset about tax increases for foreigners. And not only that, they continue to tell you that tax increases will be passed along to the consumer. Well, that's what we're always telling people. So why is Donald Trump raising these import taxes? I think most of you, if you're listening to this program, know, but we may have some liberals listening. So I got to get out the crayons and the fat pencils every once in a while for them. President Trump is very angry that Bill Clinton, through NAFTA, drove all this American business and manufacturing to Canada and to Mexico. Neither Canada nor Mexico have all this manufacturing for their own population. Canada has a very small population. It's about 10% the size of the United States population, even though it's a country that's much larger than us land-wise. And they don't have a population large enough to support these industries. As an example, one thing I've been asking people a lot the last couple of days, what is the Canadian car manufacturer? They're all American manufacturers. And what NAFTA did was drive auto manufacturing and all of our other manufacturing to Mexico and Canada for a lot of reasons. One, they don't have the union problems that they have in this country, and there's other things too. Mexico, NAFTA drove manufacturing there. Mexico has a very poor population. If you make $300 to $400 a month, $300 to $400, not a week, not a day. If you make $300 to $400 a month in Mexico, you are considered middle class. I know there's exceptions depending on where in Mexico you are, but overall in Mexico, $300 to $400 a month is middle class. The population of Mexico doesn't earn enough money to buy the products that they make. Everything, for the most part, that's made in Mexico or Canada is primarily meant to ship and sell in the United States. And our politicians that have been selling us out all our lives have these out of whack import-export taxes where they have high taxes in these countries on our goods, and we have next to zero import tax on their goods. And what Donald Trump has said and what he's doing is incredibly brilliant, and as in part of the American First or the America First agenda. He wants those factories to move back to the United States. I don't care if they make typewriters or cars. He wants the factories back in the United States. And if they move back into the United States, there's no tariff at all, zero tariff if they're in the United States. But he also has the reciprocal tariffs, right? Reciprocal tariffs, which means our tariffs are going to be import taxes. They keep calling them tariffs, even though it's an accurate word, but they keep calling it tariffs because the Democrats can't say anything negative about the word tax. So they keep, using tariff as kind of a code word. But the reciprocal tariffs, what the president means by that, and when I say the president, I mean our favorite president, Donald Trump, means that our import taxes, our import and export taxes are going to be what theirs are. So if Canada's taxes on our goods are 20%, ours are going to be 20%. Why is it wrong for us to do that? Why is it okay for them to rip us off, but we can't put a reciprocal tax in? It makes no sense. And Canada has gotten very arrogant. Very arrogant. Canada, and I understand it's their country. People should think that their country is the best, but Canada has been on the coattails of the United States since 1776, maybe a little later, but they've been on our coattails during the existence of both of our countries. That's it. I tell you guys this often because it says everything. 80% of the population of Canada live within 150 miles of the U.S. border. Think about that. It's a country land-wise much larger than ours. I know a lot of it's, Arctic regions, but it's still, they got a lot more space than we have and a small population. But 80% of their population live within 150 miles of the United States. And the reason for that is they're dependent upon us. And President Trump hasn't started a trade war. He's what he has is a trade fairness plan. And these Canadians have lost it, and they actually think they're going to win a trade war against the United States, and that's just not going to happen. Now, I'm going to play some audio. We'll talk about it, but I want to mention the stock market because I don't follow the stock market, the Dow Jones. I don't follow any of that. People like you and me, unless you're super, super rich and a hedge fund guy, and I know we have some high income earners in the audience, but if you're a regular person like me, like a middle class person, and you invest in the stock market, we're nothing. The stock market is completely manipulated by those uber rich billionaires and hedge fund guys. They manipulate the prices. It's a big racket. And I think most people know that. It's just something we tune out. So when I see the stock market go down a few hundred points today, it'll go back up. It means nothing. Okay. And first of all, the Dow Jones is just an average of a handful of the stocks that are on the entire stock exchange. And that judges the whole thing. Seems a little much. But Governor Trudeau really went over the line today. Listen.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the U.S. have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world.
I'm afraid the rest of this is part of the problem right now. We're not North Americans. We're Americans. And if you're an American, that means you're from the United States of America. See what I mean? Canada. Calling themselves North Americans. That shows what a sad country they are, that they really don't have, Canada, much of an identity. In fact, I've always thought, before all this, I've always thought that Canada was a country desperately in search for an identity. They think they're British, they think they're European, but they also, they have a lot in common with the United States. They're really it's a strange country with not a lot of national identity. All right, back to Governor Trudeau.
Now, it's not in my habit to to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Oh.
We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see.
He just called President Trump dumb. Do you hear that? He just called President Trump dumb. You're smart, but this is a dumb thing. He just called him dumb. Didn't he see the White House meeting with Zelensky on Friday? How far does he think that's going to get him? President Trump not only is brilliant, he's an economist. He has an economics degree from a prestigious business school, and he became a billionaire 10 times over. Okay, he's very successful. He understands money in ways that I'll never be able to understand. He knows exactly what he's doing. Okay, and the rest of people in government, they're not business people, including Governor Trudeau here. And you know, the thing about what Donald Trump is doing, he's taking America's economy back to the post-war era, right? 1945 through the early 60s, that baby boomer era, when America was not an international leader until the Second World War was over, and we had this major economic boom, and he's bringing us back to that time. And Trudeau, who's out here with some people behind him, I don't know who they are with Governor Trudeau here, but you know, what's he upset about? They're the ones ripping us off. They've stolen our industry. They've stolen our manufacturing. They have out of whack import taxes on our goods. They're ripping us off. Okay? They're ripping us off. And, you know, hey, they've been doing it. I can't blame them for doing it. I don't even think President Trump would blame them for doing it. But now President Trump said, hey, you're ripping us off. We caught you. It's going to stop. And and we're villains. I got a message for all our patriots in the audience. If you're not taking advantage of all the insane low deals going on at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you're really missing out. You know, Mike Lindell is a great American MAGA patriot. He's dealt with so much oppression from the past regime, right? Remember the FBI raid at the fast food restaurant? They took his phone. The left, the Never Trumpers, got him kicked out of all the major retailers, including Walmart. And Mike Lindell and his great MAGA company have stayed in business because of you all. And, you know, all these MyPillow products I have, the pillows, the slippers, the bathrobes, the sheets, the mattress toppers, the pet beds, the towels. It goes on. I have much more, too. And I have every type of sheet. I've got every pillow. Kathy and I both have the bathrobes. We've got the towels. Our cats love the pet beds. I've bought all these with our promo code Kane at checkout, except the first MyPillow, because they weren't with us as a sponsor when I got that first MyPillow. But there are incredible deals going on right now at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, plus free shipping site-wide on every single order with our promo code Kane. Yeah, you heard me. There's no hidden fees, no gimmicks, no minimum purchase. Just free shipping on all orders site-wide. And of course, there's incredible, massive savings on the pillows, the sheets, the slippers, and everything else that's going on right now in the mega sale. So don't wait. These deals and the free shipping won't last forever. Go to mypillow.com, use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and load up. All right, that's promo code Kane, Kane. Unlock those great deals with free shipping, huge discounts and free shipping, no minimum order. And every time you use our promo code Kane at checkout, you're supporting all of my content, podcast, YouTube channel, and the radio show, everything. And it's greatly appreciated, friends. I do appreciate it. Promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout at mypillow.com. So here's Ford, the premier of Ontario, who's been on a tear the last couple days too, following Governor Trudeau's lead.
Going one step further, we're ripping up Ontario's contract with Starlink.
Oh.
It's done. It's gone.
Okay, so parts of Canada are pretty remote. So Ford here, Premier Ford, he's going to cut the internet off from some of his own people? Are you kidding me? How's that hurting anyone other than the people whose internet are getting shut down? And you know, that Starlink internet, we have that on our cruise ships, Celebrity Cruise Line, on our listener cruise. By the way, those of you that are going, the countdown, we're just a couple of weeks away. I can't wait. That's my yearly vacation as our listener cruise. But we have the Starlink on the cruises. Man, that internet's fast. I've thought about getting it here at the house just as backup when we have hurricanes and sometimes we'll lose internet, and have the Starlink as a backup. It's really good. I've used it, I think, the last 2 cruises since they installed, maybe 3, but at least this will be the 3rd, I think, since they've installed Starlink on all the celebrity ships. Okay, so let me get back to this. So Premier Ford of Ontario, Canada, he's going to cut the internet off for a whole bunch of his people.
Going one step further, we're ripping up Ontario's contract with Starlink. It's done. It's gone. We won't award contracts to people who enable and encourage economic attacks on our province and our country, alongside federal tariffs and the measures my fellow premiers are bringing forward. This Team Canada's opening response.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll bring it on. I don't know if they realize or not. I don't think they do what a tiny country they are and how dependent they are on our country. And President Trump calls them the 51st state. They're already a client state of the United States. We're supporting their entire system. Now, this next one, I was a little disappointed in. This Pierre guy, who's the conservative leader in Canada. I don't know too much about him. I saw that interview where he was eating the apple last year, and I got a kick out of that when he was talking to that fake news Canadian reporter. But he's a beaut, too. Listen to this.
At 12:01 a.m., President Trump stabbed America's best friend in the back.
Oh, we did, huh?
My message to the president is this: Canada will fight back.
How are you going to do that?
We will defend our people and our economy, and we will put Canada first.
Oh, well, put Canada. You're Canadian, okay? Put your country first, okay? But we're going to put ours first. And so far as fighting, what has Canada ever fought for? They didn't even fight for their own independence. You know, when our great 13 American colonies signed that Declaration of Independence, there were other colonies too. British people, the Brits had colonies all over the world, including Canada. And Canada, not only did they not join us, they fought against us. They worked against us, all right? In the American Revolution, all the loyalists in Canada and the loyalists here that went to Canada.
There's no doubt that our economy will suffer. But so will yours, President Trump.
Oh.
In fact, you're already paying the price, with trillions of dollars erased in stock market value over the last month of these threats. Already, Americans are paying higher gas prices.
No, gas, I have noticed gas going down. 5-10 cents here and there. It's going down. I'm noticing it's already going down. And President Trump hasn't even opened up the drilling yet.
At midnight, a new American gas tax kicked in on a U.S. working class taxpayers and motorists. Your workers will soon start losing jobs they had upgrading Canadian raw materials, which, by the way, you were getting at an incredible and ridiculous bargain. And your businesses will be selling fewer products to your closest neighbor.
Well, we'll
that's
survive.
Only the beginning. While Canadians are slow to anger and quick to forgive, once provoked, we fight back. And we will fight back.
Okay. Again, when have they ever fought on their own for anything? On their own. I know they're part of the Allies in the Second World War, and they may have sent a couple dozen guys to Afghanistan to back us up after 9/11. But when has Canada ever really, truly fought for anything? It's really sad. I mean, what President Trump's asking for is just fairness with the import taxes. Just fairness. And for some reason, that's offensive, not just to the Canadians. I expect them to defend their country, but they're just not being right by us. We're defending their whole country. We're funding their whole country. We pay for their defense. We pay for their nationalized health care. We support their industries and everything. And this is how they treat us. And they say that they're our closest friends. I don't think they're our friend at all. I really don't. Now, we're going to take our first break. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Are you looking for a new job and tired of filling out endless applications? Let Lift My CV take over the job search for you. Lift My CV is the new AI-powered job search agent that finds and auto-applies to the best jobs for you, so you can land that dream job faster and easier than ever. Lift My CV is easy to use too. Just set your preferences, upload your resume, and Lift My CV handles everything else. It scans top job boards like LinkedIn, Monster, and more, and fills out the applications while you focus on prepping for that big interview. Your job search just got a lot easier. There's no subscriptions and no commitments. Sign up right now at liftmycv.com. That's liftmycv.com. Apply faster. Get hired sooner. Is your morning a mess? You hit the snooze button, scramble to get ready, and then you forget half the things you needed to do. Sound familiar? The days of disorganization are over with Routine Shift. Routine Shift is an app that turns chaos into control. With Routine Shift, you can create, track, and stick to your routines without effort, with guided timers and reminders. From morning workouts to bedtime wind downs, Routine Shift keeps you on track. Small steps, big changes. Start building the life you want right now. Download Routine Shift in the Apple app and Google Play Store, and visit the site routineshift.app. Your dream routine is here right now with Routine Shift. From author Barbara Griffin comes a children's book that inspires curiosity, adventure, and a love for reading. Curious Jackson, available on Amazon. Jackson is a little turtle with a big imagination. He spends his days dreaming about the vast blue ocean until one day he sets off on a grand adventure to find it. What he finds is that the ocean is really big, but he wants to know what else is out there. Along the way, Jackson encounters new wonders, exciting challenges, and discovers just how far curiosity can take him. Curious Jackson is perfect for kids, families, and classrooms everywhere. Take your little explorer on a journey they'll never forget. Curious Jackson from author Barbara Griffin is available on Amazon. Order your copy right now.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've seen thousands and thousands of patients in my career. I've been a chiropractic physician here in Pompano Beach for 40 years. We're open 6 days a week. If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it. Well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment because no injections, there's no medication, there's no surgery, there's none of that. It's strictly either the laser or the acupuncture I do or shockwave therapy I do. Open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast. Please follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. So I was just looking over the break, and Ben Shapiro, I don't know what exactly Ben Shapiro is thinking with this, if it's just clout chasing or trying to go viral. But I'm not saying that I disagree with what he's saying. I'll tell you what he's talking about in a minute. He's talking about, and what Ben Shapiro did is he's calling on President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, the George Floyd cop. I have a saying, it's a good rule of thumb. It's not 100% true, but it's true for the most part. And it's never trust a never Trumper. Never trust a never Trumper. And Ben Shapiro was a very vocal never Trumper in Trump's first campaign. Now, like a lot of these guys, they come around, oh, I've woken up and all this stuff. But no, they don't like him. They just pretend because they know that they would not have any conservative listeners if they were anti-Trump. So never trust a never Trumper is a very good rule of thumb for some of these people. And Ben Shapiro with this pardoning of Derek Chauvin. Now, I know on the face of it, you say that's a great idea. Well, Derek Chauvin has federal charges, but also local state charges. And the murder conviction, I certainly believe, is a state charge, local charge. So a pardon wouldn't set him free. President Trump has more popular, and I'm not saying that Derek Chauvin should not be released from prison. I believe that he was framed. He should not have been arrested. He should not have gone to jail, and he probably should still be a police officer. You know, this I can't breathe. Almost everyone who gets arrested says they can't breathe. Okay, they almost all do that. They all claim health problems. If you've ever had the unfortunate time to have to go to an emergency room, oftentimes you see cops in there with people that are on the way to the jail with, and they're claiming that they have some health issues, so they have to go to the emergency room and buy time. You know, these things happen. But what benefit to anyone would it be for Trump to give him a pardon on the federal charges? I haven't gone through the breakdown of the different charges, the state charges and the federal charges, but it's not going to let him out of prison. Donald Trump is more popular now than any president has ever been. I don't think that's an exaggeration. He's turning the world upside down and putting back in place all these things that have been thrown out of whack forever and ever. I don't need to go through them all. You guys know what they are. And to go out and pardon Derek Chauvin, which would not release him from prison, would do nothing but total disruption and destruction for no purpose at all. So now, while on the face of it, you may hear that from Ben Shapiro, think, oh, that's a good idea. I agree with that. But since it won't let him out of prison, he'll still be in prison. Why do it? It would do a lot of damage to Trump's approval rating. It would cause race riots in the country. So I don't know what Ben Shapiro's angle is. Is he in never Trumper mode and is trying to hurt Trump? He may be, or is he clout chasing? Is he just trying to go viral on something like a lot of these guys do, you know? And I don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's neither. Maybe he's tired of talking about tariffs and he wants something new to talk about. Maybe he's trying to stand out and sound unique because he does seem rather vanilla and boring. Ben Shapiro, he's not really, if you think about it, Ben Shapiro hasn't been a part of the dialogue for a while. Really, I mean, when's the last time you've thought about Ben Shapiro? Maybe when he parted ways with Candace Owens, he did an interview a few weeks after that. You know, other than that, I haven't paid too much attention. But no, pardoning Derek Chauvin would be a bad idea. There's no benefit, only negative, and Donald Trump is draining the swamp like no one's business. Now, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. You know, your support really does help. I've been telling you guys that I was able to set myself up to broadcast in the mornings from home, which has changed my life. I was on the verge of really complete exhaustion, maybe a heart attack with the 2-3 hours on the road every morning and then having to work all day after that. It was just too much. And I didn't realize how much it was hurting me until I started working from home. And my wife, Kathy, and my daughter have been trying to get me to do that for a long time. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, your support as a Patreon enabled me to get the studio at home set up so I could do that. And I'm making it better every day. In fact, today I just got in the mail from Amazon a new microphone arm because if you've been watching me on the radio, when I use my microphone at home prior to doing the show every day from home, you know, I record voiceovers, do the podcast sometimes too from that microphone. Sometimes I got another recording area where I can record the podcast when Kathy's and I are doing it together. But that microphone arm was so like falling down and the screws were so stripped, it could hardly hold the microphone up. So, and I finally sprung courtesy of you Patreon supporters for a new microphone arm that I'm using for the first time right now. And I mean, I'm so excited to have this microphone arm. You have no idea. I know these little things make a big deal. But I do want to thank all the Patreon supporters. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, remember you have access to commercial-free editions of all the podcast episodes. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on every podcast episode. So the names you'll hear now, are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish, Wilkerson, Christy R, John S, Frank, and Dale. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the episode. So all this talk about Ukraine, I mean, this is just insane what's going on. I'm not going to go through it all. You guys know, but Brian Kilmeade, listen to this. Brian Kilmeade over on Fox, who's on Fox nonstop. I mean, this guy, he's always on the air. He posted on X, can we all remember that the Kremlin is the bad guy? They invaded, they kidnapped kids. Whatever happened, Ukraine cannot lose. Eastern Europe will be next. That's Brian Kilmeade. The Cold War, that was a complete lie. What they kept telling us, these are the warmongers for the military-industrial complex during the Cold War. If it was Korea or Vietnam or maybe even Grenada, I don't know about Grenada, but you know what I mean. No matter where we were fighting communism around the world in these military-industrial complex-backed wars, fake wars, they would always say, if we don't stop them in Vietnam, they'll be in Brooklyn, and the domino theory. And, communism did grow through a lot of places. It's still around, not in that many places as it was, but it was growing. But the idea that Russia, the Soviet Union, was ever a threat to the United States was one of the biggest lies that's ever been sold to the world. And the idea that Putin wants Eastern Europe, I agree that he wants Ukraine, and I think most people would. Ukraine's a civil war. Putin believes Ukraine is Russia. It was part of the Soviet Union. So, but Europe, who wants Europe? Who really wants Europe? Europe's been overrun. It's a caliphate now. It's nothing more than a tourist trap. The people there are obnoxious. They've got a lot of problems with the Muslim migrant situation that they have there. It's a mess. Putin does not want Europe. And Europe, we were talking about the arrogance of Canada in the first segment. Europe's very arrogant too. They think that they're the center of the universe and that everyone wants them. That's just not the case. Nobody wants Europe, certainly not Putin. Again, he does want Ukraine. Let's not make no mistake about it. He does want Ukraine, but so what? So what? I mean, do you all agree with that? That nobody wants Europe, really? I mean, come on, look at Europe. And you see these leaders on television talk about arrogant, huh? Talk about arrogant. Oh, I wanted to mention a couple of things from Joe Rogan's show. I saw something I got from YouTube today. YouTube said that 1 billion people a month listen to podcasts on YouTube, by the way. Did you know that? On just YouTube. That's not even the other ones. It's amazing how many people listen to podcasts now. And thank you all for listening to this podcast. Couple things happened this week on Joe Rogan's show, and I want to mention them. One of them I mentioned on the radio yesterday. He was talking to Elon Musk, Rogan, and he thought it was interesting that CNN for the first time in a long time carried the Trump rally the day that President Trump got shot in Butler. Why'd they carry that rally? Did they know something? And if you missed that bit of a discussion, you might want to go back and check it out. And that's very true. Why did they decide to carry that rally in Butler, CNN? It was not one that was all that historically significant compared to any other rally at the time. I watch all the rallies, but there was nothing special about the Butler rally as opposed to any of the other rallies during the campaign, except, of course, the Never Trumpers shot President Trump at it. But CNN wasn't carrying the other rallies, but they carried that one. So I think Rogan makes a good point. That's a very good question. And CNN, they didn't take very long to come out and deny it. Oh, we know nothing. Well, the fact that they denied it shows that they're a little sensitive, a little too sensitive on that one. So that was interesting. And then there was another thing that happened on Rogan's show this week. And I have not seen the whole interview, but he interviewed Bill Murray. And I've always been a fan of Bill Murray. Bill Murray, Stripes. I love Stripes. I saw Stripes when I was a kid. And I love that movie, and I actually bought that movie. I have it on iTunes. I love Stripes. It's funny. It holds up. I never, and I love Bill Murray. I think I like Stripes better than Ghostbusters. I've seen Stripes many more times than Ghostbusters, but I've always been a Bill Murray fan, except I don't like Scrooged and I don't like Groundhog Day and Scrooge. But other than that, I love Bill Murray. Everyone loves Bill Murray. But he was talking to Joe Rogan. He did an hour-long interview, and I've only seen the one clip, the one I'm going to talk about. And when I have time, I'm going to watch the whole interview because I like Bill Murray. And Bill Murray, excuse me, hasn't really done a lot of interviews over the years, at least not that I've seen. So I'm curious about this one. But he says something in the beginning of it that is so interesting. He was talking about the Bob Woodward book about John Belushi, and wasn't that Wired? And he said he started reading that book, just the first 5 pages. He said it was total BS. Nothing in the book was true. And of course, he was on Saturday Night Live with John Belushi, and they knew each other before that even. He was very good friends with John Belushi. And he said, if he was telling such lies about John Belushi, what about what he was saying about Richard Nixon? And John Belushi, in his old age, comes wisdom. He's saying, well, maybe everything Bob Woodward said about Nixon was not true, and Nixon was framed. And that is very powerful, because you got a guy that's not generally political coming out and saying things like that. I'm looking forward to seeing that interview. And Bob Woodward is a CIA intelligence agency guy, and he was part of a deep state operation to bring down President Nixon. There's no getting around that. Bob Woodward was an Ivy League guy, a naval intelligence officer. Deep Throat Felt was who he meant at the FBI. He meant when he was in naval intelligence, and he was the source of all the Watergate information. So goes the official story. But Bob Woodward was a brand new reporter at the Washington Post. He was a local crime reporter, brand new, had never been a reporter in his life. And then all of a sudden, he's covering the biggest story of the 20th century. Of course, he was a deep state person, and you can't believe much of anything, if anything, Bob Woodward says. Look at what he said about President Trump. But what Bill Murray was talking about, how he has just had this revelation after he looked at Wired, the book, or if it wasn't Wired, it may have been another title that Woodward wrote about Belushi. But the only book I know of was Wired, that they made the movie about with Michael Chiklis from The Shield played Belushi in that movie. But he said if he told such lies about and was so poorly sourced about Belushi, what about Nixon? And he totally believes Nixon was framed now, Bill Murray. Now, that was pretty fascinating. Better late than never. Poor Richard Nixon. But one of the greatest things that President Trump has done, he's done so many great things. Overturning Roe v. Wade, I think, will always be the greatest. Although he's saving our country right now with everything he's doing, but he's saved all these children that will, millions and millions of people will live because President Trump overturned Roe v. Wade. But one of the greatest things he did, if you were to put together a top 10 list, certainly in the top 10, maybe the top 5, is exposing the fake news media. People don't trust the media anymore. The media has completely lost credibility with people. They have no influence. They can't get their narratives going. No one watches nor pays attention to them anymore. And we found out that really the only reason they've stayed in business is because USAID was funding them. But that's a great thing that President Trump did, exposing fake news media. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time.